All right, it's 6 o'clock. Call the Finance Committee meeting to order on Wednesday, November the 4th. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from October the 7th. Everybody
Yep, I read them.
had a chance to read them. They were short prior to our meeting, town meeting.
Excuse me, John?
Yes,
John? This is Joan. Is Mrs. Griffin a new member of the board?
She's from the school committee, isn't she?
Oh,
She's a school committee member.
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Just want to make sure I got all the players.
Maybe we can recruit her.
so
I move the minutes be accepted as printed.
do I hear a second on the minute?
Second,
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Yule,
Yes.
Mr. Bacon,
Yes.
Ms. Mazeka,
yes.
Ms. O'Neill. Okay.
All right. Next item is the capital program discussion for the school department. So, Justin, do you want to get up and speak to?
I'd like to.
Thank you very much. Members of the Finance Committee. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for your recommendation last year for the math curriculum and as well the track. We just had the track finished over the summer and it's fantastic. So thank you so much for those items. Here tonight to talk about the school's capital requests for fiscal 22. Normally I'm here for non-facility items. However, this year it's a little bit different. Everything that we are requesting are facilities related items. So I'll just jump right into it. As part of your packet, it's going to start on page 151 is where the facilities related items are. Just to speak to the other items, it's not that they're not important. It's just a lot of them at this time require more research and or we're just not prepared to take them on, but we feel as though the facilities items are more timely and they need immediate attention. So these other items, we'll look at them in the future, years down the road. But I'm not going to speak to those tonight.
You're talking about stuff that you have for F23 and
20
FY3 and 24 and 25.
Correct.
And I noticed you moved some of the requests that you had from last year forward to FY24 and FY25 down below some of your items. So you pushed a couple of things off, like the Barton overflow lot, you moved, and the refinishing of the gym floors at Barton and Chaffey, you moved from last year forward. So you're doing some shuffling, I noticed that. And thank you for responding to my request on the Mass School Building Authority on the first couple items that are huge. You've gone ahead and made that submission for funding.
Yes, sir. We did submit. I submitted for all 4 schools back end of February, early March. I do have an update for you this evening on that. Now I had probably emailed you.
You did.
Yesterday afternoon,
Yep.
and then late yesterday afternoon, we received a phone call from the MSBA that they would like to have a phone call with us, I believe Monday, to go over the middle school needs. It's my understanding that they want to know what they're really looking for is what the community support is.
So typically, if I might add, since I built a school, I had to go through this in my career as a superintendent before I retired. This conference call is typically it's an initial call to engage the stakeholders, both on the school side and the town side. Typically involves your town manager. Sometimes it can be the director of finance. Oftentimes it's the chair of the board of selectmen. It would involve your superintendent, business manager, to gauge the readiness, the level of acceptability that your community might have to support their costs for either a renovation or a new building. You submitted an SOI that includes a number of items.
Right.
It included floors, it included the roof, windows, heating.
Heating and bathrooms too.
So
I
that's a
think.
core request. We don't, as communities, get to decide what's going to be done. They will come in on your dime, your feasibility study that the town would approve to do really a fiscal to assess the building, to see whether or not your building should be renovated or whether you should build a new building. But this initial call is really to see your level of readiness and understanding that this is a shared cost, because they're not going to go out and put us in the pipeline if this community is not going to be ready and eager, if you will, to potentially go forth and support the costs that might be. And unfortunately, you don't know what you're going to get. We don't get to decide as a community whether we're going to build a new building or renovate. We may want to renovate. They decide that and tell you, based on that, this is what we would do, and this is what we would see the cost to be, and this would be your share. So that's kind of that initial call. It's a feeling out to really see, engage, are people eager for this? Are people aware of this? Have you had community discussions about this? Do you believe you would have funding and support to do this? They want to know that before they commit anything and even put you in that pipeline. So I'm assuming this is what this call is probably going to be about. And that's why they want, the town manager and as well as superintendent. Now, I wasn't here when this was submitted, so I don't know the level of needs, and I don't know whether or not you had a single individual come in to assess all of these needs, because that's typically what they usually talk with you about initially. Yeah, so.
And of course, now with the decline in enrollment, utilization becomes a factor. They're going to look at the body count as well as our side and assess.
Well, they only do that if you're building a new building, because then they look at your NESDEC projections and will do that. But again, we wouldn't know until they come in.
Right.
I can't hazard a guess as to whether they would look at the cost of what they have to do based on what you have said in your SOI. First, do they agree with those? Are those things that they see as, yes, you need to renovate, you need to do that? And at what point then is a renovation cost so high that it doesn't make sense? And we can only tell you that we would build a building. Now, I don't know what your reimbursement rate would be like either. So that's obviously significant to a town to know what, rate we would be paying for that building. And then, of course, you take that to the next step. So this is initial. Who knows where it's going to go?
So those are the first two items, the 90,000 and the 400,000. And I think last year there was another 40,000.
No, 400,000 is for your elementary school, so that would not be included. This is the middle school project only.
Just the middle school.
Yes.
Well, you had submitted the 400,000 that's last year, didn't you not?
As part of capital, yes.
Yes, you did.
Right.
Yes.
And then the 90, and then there was another 40,000 for the Chaffey and Barton restrooms too, I think back last year.
Correct. Right now, we are currently trying to fund that ourselves. And my apologies, I didn't do introductions. My name is Justin LeDuc, School Business Manager. I have with me the School Superintendent, Dr. Dustin Nash, and Director of Facilities, Michael Lucas.
Hey, can I interject just for a moment? I just need something. I need to say something. I apologize for interrupting, but I haven't had a chance. I just need to make a statement that my understanding is that Superintendent Nash has to be somewhere. She has a prior commitment, so we need to wrap things up by 7. So I'm just letting you know so we can run through this as quick as possible.
Okay. Thank you. And as I look to my left here, I see we do have 3 members of the school committee with us as well.
Yes.
So just to back up a little bit more, we did consult with our facilities director prior to coming before you. He had recommended priority for these items, and we also did consult with our school committee. So we have a prioritized list of these facilities related items.
Mm-hmm.
So in the order that you have received it, might not match what I'm going to say, but I just want to make you aware of that. So the first item is foundation repairs. And I say first as that's the school committee's highest priority right now as far as seeking funding for repairs. The Foundations, I'm not sure if you had a chance to review the engineer's report that we had received a few years ago. Basically what's happening is there's rebar in the concrete and it's rusting, and when that expands, it cracks the concrete even further, leading to further moisture getting into the structure. So that's basically what's happening. As far as the concern is, there's going to be structural issues with the building if this is not addressed in a timely fashion.
This was submitted last year, was that our
Correct.
last year's document?
Correct.
So we're all pretty much familiar with that, I think.
Yes. But that is our number one priority right now, is that because we just don't want to have long-term issues with the building, the two elementary schools. And please stop me if anyone has any questions. I have my expert, Mike Lucas, here with me to dig into specifics.
Feel free to ask me anything you want.
The second priority item we have is the middle school boilers. Now, just to give you a little bit of history, my understanding about around 2007, all three of the boilers at the middle school were replaced. Since then, we had one fail completely. That was replaced with a half-size boiler. I believe when Mr. Lucas reached out to the manufacturer, we were told those boilers are at the end of their life. So as a precautionary item, we would like to look into replacing these things. We don't want to get into the middle of February, have one of the main boilers fail, because again, the concern is with only having a boiler and a half to support that building on a real cold day. I'm not so sure that that's going to work out. So that's the information I have on it. Again, I guess from my opinion, it's kind of a shame. I have never seen a boiler only last 10 years, but I guess they don't make them like they used to.
Now, Justin, if I could speak also.
Yeah, certainly.
When I spoke to the manufacturer's representative, when the boilers were put in, they were state of the art. They were very good boilers. And what they found was through the design, the operation, they just did not have a long lifespan. And they didn't know that until several years in. Usually boilers last a lot longer than that. But these particular boilers, they just found, they didn't do enough testing or whatever, that they found they just did not last that long. And that's why we had one fail already. And we replaced it with a different brand. Didn't need the same size. We scaled it down to what the experts told us we didn't need. So the boiler that we put in was 1.5 million BTUs instead of 3 million. And that was because we needed one that would carry us through spring and fall. That way you didn't want to run full out the big boilers. So now we're left with the large size boilers, and those are the ones that are critical for us to maintain so that we can keep classes in school, on a very cold day if it fails.
Excuse me. If the problem, as we'll call it, was incomplete testing on the manufacturer's part, do we have any recourse for some of the funding through the manufacturer? I don't know what the warranty was on it, but if they're coming right out and saying, we didn't test it long enough, we didn't do what we're supposed to do, maybe we have some recourse to get something towards replacement. I don't know.
Yeah, I had asked that question when the boiler failed. And after the representative speaking with the manufacturer, which the manufacturer was sold and purchased through another company, they said it's well out of warranty. We really had no recourse. I tried to do that.
Okay.
And they said, you just can't test something for so many years. It's the type of usage and the length of years. They would never be able to test it for 13 years.
Okay.
At the time, they were very good. It just, the lifespan was shorter than a typical boiler. But I did try.
Okay, thank you. How many boilers are we looking at replacing?
This one right now is for one. There was three.
$90,000 for the one boiler?
Yes.
Okay, and how many boilers are there that need replacing?
Well, there's There's one that's just been replaced, and
Yes.
there's two of the original left. And we're afraid that one of them, because they're at end of life,
Right,
would fail. And
okay,
we didn't want to go after funding for two full boilers at this time.
okay,
So this would be off the table if your SOI were to move forward, because one of the areas that you noted in your SOI with MSBA was boilers or heating system. So it might be something to, while it's there and it's important, you know, obviously, if any discussions should get to a point where we are being considered, then whatever is going to happen at the middle school with respect to renovation or anything else, the boilers would be part of that. Just something to think about.
Mhm.
Not that we know at this point, or would know probably in the immediate future. That's the other thing. Although I can tell you that you would probably know within a few months as to whether you're going to be moved up to the list.
okay,
On the list, I should say.
thank you.
So this is a new item. So far, everything else that you've just talked about was on last year's, but not funded.
Correct. Correct. I'm gonna move right along now, unless anybody has any questions. Very well, the third priority item is the siding repairs for the elementary schools. Again, I'm not sure if you had a chance to review the report from the engineer. But anyone, even if you walk up to maybe Chaffey School and take a look at the siding, it's like a hardy board. Now, it appears as though the paint is peeling, or the exterior layer is peeling off of it. The corners are starting to curl. A lot of the nails are starting to pop out of it. It's my understanding that there was a problem with the installation. The bottom line is there's moisture getting into the exterior of the buildings. This is kind of a difficult one, as we have the request for 400,000. I'll check my opinion again. I'm not so sure that will satisfy it, because we don't know, once we start digging into that building, how far any damage has gone. I mean, we would like to think it's just the exterior, but we don't know for certain. And also, with that said, I mean, 400,000 is quite the request, and I understand that the town most likely does not have the funds to take care of this issue in one fell swoop.
And it was on last year's request as well.
Correct.
And that goes back to what we were just talking about with the boilers that may fall in.
It won't, because that's Chaffey. And the only SOI they're looking at is middle school.
Well, I have, it says here Barton and Chaffey, that's,
Yes.
Yes, but I'm saying that that won't fall into MSBA, because MSBA is only coming to talk to us, or talking to us about the middle school.
okay.
So you would have to look at that. And it's a serious issue, because it's the upper part of the envelope of those buildings. So it's not obviously the brick part, it's the very top part. And the longer it waits, as Justin pointed out, the more of a chance that you've got some issues, as Mike has also alluded to, in those buildings. And it probably is going to cost you more than 400,000 to repair it the longer you wait. It's kind of like the structural issue. It's the envelope of your building. It's the structure. It's the foundation. So we're going to kick the can down the road, but it's going to have to be addressed sooner or later. And it is a major cost. But at this point in time, it would not be part of any discussion with MSBA.
Okay.
Excuse me, again,
Okay.
is this siding, when we're talking about it, is this like the entire school, or is it the new part, quote unquote, the additions that were put on several years ago? What parts of the building does this impact?
To give you an easy answer, I would say the upper third of the building. It's not necessarily old or new sections. It seems to be throughout the entire building. But if you look, I think the main entrance has a large area covered with this hardy board. The white part, if you look, it's not the brick area. The brick is fine. It's the hardy board white area. It looks like almost like a stucco.
Yeah, okay. All right. And does anybody know, how long ago did we do the additions to Barton and Chaffey? How old are those additions?
I want to say approximately 2003 they were completed.
Okay, thank you. So they're almost 20 years
If
old.
I could just interject on that. The study was done by the engineer prior to me being employed with the town. So what I did was, that summer, I brought in someone also that deals with construction type issues, just to verify, to get a sanity check. And he also spoke with the manufacturer of different type of stuccos and products, just to verify that, yes, this is accurate, that is what is happening. So yeah, the information is quite up to date, as far as what's happening. It's been verified by someone else that I brought in this summer.
But what about the dollar, the 400,000? What did you feel?
Same thing. You just don't know till you start removing the panels. They're in big sections, and you don't want to start doing that ahead of time, because once you're committed, you're committed.
Okay.
So again, back to your point, we did submit this as part of the SOI for MSBA reimbursement. However, they have only contacted us about the middle school at this time.
Right.
This may change down the road, but we'll see what happens.
They typically do not do envelopes of buildings though. So if you're doing a renovation project with them, they'll do windows. They typically do not do floors. They do heating systems and they do roofs. So unless you build, they're not out to redo buildings on the outside. It's typically, they're gonna come in and tell you that you may need a whole building, which is not the case here. But,
Okay.
I'll move along to the next two items of almost equal importance. The electronic door access to the elementary schools, both for $25,000 each. It's roughly $4,000 a door to run the wiring and put the electronic device in, if you will.
I think last year we did the high school for 25.
You funded the middle school.
Middle school. Okay.
Yes, so we're currently working on that installation right now. We completed the high school over the summer, and now we're starting the middle school. So if you kind of use that theory, where we're kind of working backwards, starting with the older kids, and as the high school gets the most use, secondly middle school, and thereon. So priority items number 4 and 5 would be the two elementary schools to outfit those with electronic access, as you see at the town hall. And when I say that, it's fob access. Traditional, what we currently have is a key system. So if Mrs. Smith needs to get in the building, we issue a key. The problem with that is if nobody tracks it or keeps inventory when Mrs. Smith leaves employment, we're not getting the keys back, and it's very expensive to change the locks on the building. Whereas this is more of the hotel model, where you can just simply shut off the device when they leave. And there's more benefits to that. We can allow entering and exiting, entering at certain times, certain doors. You have a lot more flexibility with it, so it's more of a security concern. So
And these are both new items from last year.
Yes. I believe so. I don't believe I had those on last year.
You had the middle school, which we funded, and then we had already done the high school, like you said.
Yes.
Does this tell, can you tell who accessed the building when
Yes,
with this as well?
absolutely.
Okay, great, thanks.
If I may, I'm going to move right along here. The next two priority items we have, numbered 6 and 7, are the elementary school flooring replacements. Now, in almost all of the classrooms in both the elementary schools, carpeting was put down. So I want to say roughly 80% of the room is carpet. We did a wing at Chaffey School over the summer. We wanted to expedite this because, we knew we were going to be eating in classrooms. Now, when you have especially small children eating over carpet, it's kind of a pain in the neck to clean, and also it presents just overall maybe hygiene or cleanliness problems.
Sure.
With especially having a carpet that's now, getting towards 20 years old. So we wanted to replace that with tile. So again, the next two items would be 6 and 7 would be, 6 would be the Chaffey School flooring replacement, and Bart School would be number 7. The Chaffey School request is for $67,500, and that's to finish the rest of the building. Now, we did the kindergarten hallway over the summer, but this will be for the rest of the building. Whereas Barton School has not been touched yet, so that's much higher because we haven't even looked at that building. Not really off topic, but just any little bit helps. If we could knock out a hallway here and there, I just want to make that clear. We're not looking for the entire amount. If knowing that funds are limited, and any little bit helps as far as replacing that carpeting.
We did a study or something on replacing asbestos tile too in the middle school, didn't we?
That's the middle school, yes.
Yeah. How'd that come
We're
out?
not talking
We
about.
have not done the study yet.
Okay.
I believe the funding was just approved as of this new fiscal year, and it's taking a back burner for right now.
Okay.
But we do plan on getting to that. I'm sure the MSBA will be asking very similar questions once we once we speak with them. If anyone has any questions on the elementary school
I'm good.
flooring, be happy to answer.
All set.
Now, last but not least, we have as priority number 8, the parking lot crack fill at all schools. The school committee certainly put this as a low priority item as it does not add much educational value. However, the town as a whole should recognize that if you don't do anything to extend the life of the parking areas, that could in the future become a large ticket item.
And this was on last year's budget as well, not funded.
Correct.
Yes.
And I understand it's a little disjointed. Normally we go through the facilities department for these types of requests, but I had to come to you folks with something, so. And I apologize, I'm not an expert when it comes to pavement repairs. But I'll be happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability, if anyone has anything. So there you have it. I'll just run through the priority one more time. The number 1 priority was the foundation repairs at the elementary schools. Number 2 was the boiler replacement at middle school. And again, that might down the road, we might see funding through MSBA for that. The third item would be the siding repairs at the elementary schools. Number 4 would be the Barton electronic door access. Number 5 would be the Chaffey electronic door access. 6 would be the Chaffey flooring replacement. 7 would be the Barton flooring replacement. And then finally, number 8 being the parking lot crack fill.
Anybody have any questions of Justin? Well, the total is, you're looking at everything here that you have on your calendar. I got $855,500, I think. With the largest ticket item being the 400.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I noticed you moved things on the bottom here that were last year, you moved them out to fiscal 24 and 25, some of the items.
Yes, I'll just speak
The gym floor and music's media carpeting.
briefly to that. This document is very dynamic.
Sure.
Programs come and go, enrollments change, school initiatives change. So these things are going to change over time. With that said, just a couple of these items. Off the top of my head, the middle school, we had requested to pave in front of the bay doors
Yeah, 25.
because we had an automotive shop in there. We no longer offering vocational programs, so therefore that item, I can tell you right now, it's not going to be needed unless that garage is repurposed for something else.
Okay.
Fleet replacement. At this time, we don't have any programs that would really require additional vehicles, so that could come off. Again, the point being is some of these things will come and go as time evolves. It's more of an informational thing. You can take a look at it, but at this time, we're not prepared to support them. Maybe down the road. But it's more of a courtesy, a heads up, like this could be a problem.
Pending.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions of Jason on his capital report? Well, thank you. Thank you for all the information prior to the meeting. It was very helpful.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nash.
Going forward, if you have
Thank you,
any,
Justin.
please reach out.
Thank you.
All right. Old business, I don't know if there's any old business, new business, upcoming meeting dates. I think we have one scheduled for November the 19th, 18th,
18th, yep.
18th, pardon.
I didn't know that.
Any committee request? If none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Yule,
Yes.
Mr. Bacon,
Yes.
Ms. Mazeka,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill.
Yes.
Right, that's it.
Okay. Well,
You adjourn?
Adjourned
Yeah.
at